Welcome to the Code with Jason meetup. I'll share my screen and get us going. Um, okay, here's what we're working on. Here's what I've been working on lately, Sanjeet. Um, last time, I started adding this filter because um, we got the charge stuff, kind of the billing stuff, kind of in a decent place.
Yep.
And what I want to do now, I have this like apparent flaky test. You can see that there's a failure here, failure here. Some failures in the past. I don't know if they're related or not, but I don't have a great way to like investigate this flaky test. And so I wanted to add something that I've been planning to add since the beginning, which is a filter here. Um,
Okay. Yep. Yep.
Previously, you could filter by branch, and that's all
Mm-hmm.
fine and good, but you couldn't filter by passed or failed. So I'm working on adding that so where you can click passed and see just what's passed, and same thing with failed. So I've started to add that, but none of it actually works yet.
Okay.
So here's where I left off. I just added the markup here, and then I have the beginning of a test. So let's open up that test file. Okay. So in the describe block, this says status filtering. So this is a test about status filtering. Um, Context past builds only. It includes the past build. And you can see here in the setup, I'm saying create a past build and create a failed build. So I think that is what we want to do. Let's fill in those comments with working code. Um, I'll say let past job, it actually has to be. Um, Past job, create job. Okay. So those don't actually have their passed and failed status yet, but I'll deal with that in a second. So how would I want to write this test to say that it includes the past build? I think I want to navigate to this page and then click on past. So let's do that. Um, Let me see. How do I visit? I want to visit this past job. And I think I have some helpers for that. Hmm. I'm not sure where they are. Navigation helper? Hmm. Okay, this is not what I want, but it gives me a clue. I can do visit job path, past job, and I think maybe I can do just that. And of course, before that, I have to sign in. So let me do that. Okay, let's see if just this much works. Okay, undefined local variable, job, yeah. Okay, no route matches, blah, blah, blah. Apparently I have to give it a tab to visit. So we'll say test output. Okay, so that works. Now we want to assert that the page has the past build on it. So we want to grab something unique about this build. Maybe we can grab the commit hash. Okay. Past job it has to be. Okay. But I didn't check the checkbox, so I'll be needing to do that. Past. Okay, so I'll say click on past. And this, I believe, will not work. Well, maybe it will actually. No, it doesn't. Okay, unable to find link or button past. All right. And that is because um, see, where is this filter?
Where is the context set as to?
Where is the context set? What do you mean?
Because you have the two contexts, right? Past and failed. You know where it says let exclamation past job,
Mm-hmm.
and then you move down to the context past builds only.
Mm-hmm.
So where is that set? That's what I'm asking. That the bit that you are calling in number 11.
Tell me if this answers your question. Um, so these lets get called. So I run the test in this block here,
Okay.
and then this stuff up here gets invoked just by virtue of the fact that any it block will like call anything that's like nested above it.
Okay.
Yeah, so like all this stuff will get run for like any it block that we would run. Is
Okay.
that what
Okay.
you're
So,
asking?
yeah, yeah. That's what I was asking. So how does that that context get populated or whatever it is. Yeah. So okay. Okay. So you are saying that it is from the lines 3 to 9. That's the job. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, when we run this, it'll invoke all of this. Okay. So yeah, so couldn't find past. And let's look at why this is. Um, you'll notice that if we go to the browser and I click on past, nothing happens because it's not actually connected to this checkbox. So
Ah.
I think
Okay.
that has something to do with it. So let's fix that. I got this from ChatGPT, so let's feed it back into ChatGPT. I want the labels to be connected to the check boxes. Okay. Now, does that actually work? Okay. Let's see if our test behaves any differently now. Okay, it still says it can't find it, but that may be because my test is wrong. So let's take a look. I'm not sure if click on is the right syntax to use. Check. Okay, check past. see what we get now. Okay, so it passes. It, of course, doesn't pass because it actually works. It just passes because the build was already there. Okay, so we also want to assert that it does not include the failed build. And this should fail because, if we have a failed build and we click past, this should go away, but it doesn't. So I'd expect this test to fail. But I actually didn't do anything to make sure that past job and failed job were part of the same project.
Hmm.
And so it naturally won't have that failed build on there. So let's address that. Let's see. This is a bit complicated maybe because a job has a build which has a project. We might have to do something like this. Okay. See if that changes anything. Okay. Expected not to find that commit hash, but it looks like it did. Okay, so that is what I would expect. So let's make this test pass. So now we have to make it so that when we click one of these, it actually does perform the filtering. I'm going to close all these open tabs because they're distracting me. Let's see, let's go to build list. All right. And by the way, ChatGPT, as it often does, added more code than what was necessary. Yeah, so, all right. I want to make it. Hmm. Okay. There's a couple things I want to do. I want to make these checkboxes work, obviously, but I also want to change this form so you don't have to click apply. But that adds some complexity because right now there's this existing filter that does work and you do have to click apply.
Oh
And
yeah,
so
yeah.
if we made it so you don't have to click apply for these, then what happens with this one? That would change the behavior of that too. So I don't
Yeah.
think I want to
Hmm.
introduce both those behavior changes at once.
Hmm. But they should be separate, isn't it? We need to keep them. If not now, eventually, isn't it?
Yeah, well, what I think I want is like
Uh-huh.
anytime you pick anything, the action of changing something will
Yeah.
refresh the list.
There's no
But
need to click apply. Is that what you want to happen?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I don't want to mix these two changes. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to build this in such a way. I'm going to build this in such a way that you do need to click apply. And then I'll come back and take away apply from everything, from both the checkboxes and this. That way I can focus on one kind of change at a time. In my experience in observing developers, a lot of people confuse themselves because mix multiple changes into
Yeah.
one job.
Best to change one thing at a time, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so let's do that. So when this form gets submitted, it should filter the builds. So where does this get submitted to? I can see that this says job path. So maybe job controller, jobs controller. Okay. Okay, so I see I have this thing called build list, and it takes a branch name. That branch name comes from the filter. So let's see what build list is all about. Okay, and it has builds. Filters by branch name if the branch name is present. So let's change this. Let's change build list so that it takes not just the branch name, but also the status. And I'm going to be, trying to think if I want to call this build status. Maybe just status is fine. Okay. But then what is status? How exactly does it come through? Let's take a look at that. Okay, so params has, oh, it doesn't have anything yet. Okay, let's see what it has now. Okay, so we see that status is an array that right now contains failed. So param status, can we do that? Yep. Okay. It's really statuses. That's what it should be called. Um, statuses. Okay. Okay. And then to here, we can add statuses. Okay. And then we can do if statuses.present builds equals what exactly? How do we get our hands on the statuses? So status is not a it's not um derived from the database. It's derived in Ruby code here. So I don't think we can get it just from a query.
Yeah.
Um, I am going to look at job status real quick. Okay.
Yeah. It's sort of real time you derive that, isn't it? So,
Yeah. So I think I'll do this. Um, Builds.select. Oops. Build.status. Um, Statuses dot include build.status. Okay. And I'll be surprised if that works. It probably won't, but we will run this and see what we get. Okay. Yeah, still didn't work. I'm going to put a binding.pry here. Oh, first of all, it should be statuses, not status. Okay. Statuses, build.status. We can see the difference there. The build status starts with a capital letter and ours doesn't. So that's going to be at least one thing that makes it not work. So let's try this. Okay, that does work. Now let's run both of these tests and see what we get. Okay. Now let's manually test this here and see what we get. Okay, it is taking a long time, a very long time. Okay, it's taking what I would call too long. So we might have to cache these statuses. All right.
Yeah, got to be stored somewhere, isn't it? To be picked up.
Yeah. So it appears that that worked. It's giving us only passed, but obviously that took a very long time. Let's see about failed. And while that's doing that, let's review what we've changed. Okay, I don't see any surprises there. It's still going. Okay, so I'm going to create a new branch. We'll call it build status filter. Okay, and this does show us only failed builds, but again, that took forever. Add build status filter. Okay. Um, so I think I want to cache the build status. Um, but we don't have to do that as part of this. We can make life a little bit easier on ourselves because I want to make my changes as small as possible. And so
Mm,
if I did the build status caching on this branch, I'd make this branch bigger. But there's no reason I have to do it that way. I can just go to main and I can add status caching here because that doesn't hurt anything. So I think I'm going to do that so I can make that change just by itself. All right. So let's open our schema file and we want to add a status column here. But I think we want to make it clear because if we add a status, I want to add a status column, but only I want this column to only reflect the status of a build that's in the past. I don't want to allow the implication that the status column is what is meant to be used to get the status of a running build.
okay, so only for finished or completed jobs, you want the
Yeah.
status to be reflected. Hmm.
Although let me think. Let's go to the build class. So it's running unless there are any jobs. Failed if there are any failed jobs passed. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I was seeing if anything I saw here would change my mind, and I don't think it does. Okay, let's see. I'm trying to think. If I just call it status, that might lead to confusion. But what might I call it if we indicate, if we want to indicate that it's like only the status after it's finished? Hmm. Maybe we do just call it status. But then it would conflict with the name of this status method. Maybe we just call the column cached status.
Um, or completed. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking maybe completed status, but cache status also will just as do.
Yeah. Yeah, I think cached status is what I'm least unhappy with.
Yeah.
So I'll do that. Um, let's see. And do I want to go string or enum? Hmm. I think I think string. Given that it's cached, I don't think it's important for it to be normalized, or maybe even desirable for it to be normalized. Okay. Okay. Now let's add a test that enforces cached status to get populated. Um, let me see. That should happen when a job finishes, I suppose. Okay. And this gets a little bit complicated. Um, when the job finishes, it should add a status to the build if and only if all the jobs are finished. Do we have a test for finished? I don't see one here. Yeah, looks like we don't have one specifically for finish. So let's do that. Okay. Two contexts. One is it is not the last job to finish. Another, it is the last job to finish. It does not update its builds cached status. And here it updates its builds cache status. Okay. So here we can do job.finish, expect job.build.reload.cache status. Actually, we can do it like this. Expect job.finish not to change. Let's see. Expect job.finish not to change job.build.reload.cache status. Okay. Let's see what happens when we run that. And I haven't done anything to say that this job is not the last job to finish. So I need to create another job, that is still running. Oh, wait. Okay, so that's the other job that's still running. Okay. And so here, we'll create a job. Okay, we'll do this. Other job. Let's actually do this. I'm going to create other job here. And here in the before, I'm going to do other job dot finish. And here, we're going to expect it to change the cache status from nil to, let's say, passed, but lowercase. Okay. Now I certainly expect this to fail. Okay, duplicate key. Oh, yeah, we need to assign an index. These jobs have indexes. Okay. Okay, expected it to change from nil to pass, but it did not change. That is what I expect. So now we can change finish. And by the way, all this should be happening inside a transaction. Because we want it to be all or nothing. Okay, so create the job event. And then we update it so that the cached status is status.downcase. All right, let's see what we get now. Unknown attribute cached. Oh, yeah. Build.update. Build.status.downcase. Okay. Okay. Expected it to initially have been nil, but it was running. Interesting. It's probably because of this other job. And I wonder what would happen if we ran this now. Yeah, we expected it to, when it's not the last job to finish, we expect job.finish not to change the cache status, but it does. Okay. So how do we tell if there are any jobs running? Hmm. Okay, return running unless, oh yeah, okay, so if there are no jobs, we return running. Okay. Okay. Finished. Okay. So we know the build is, okay, hang on. I think here's how we want to do it. If build dot jobs equals build dot jobs dot finished. Yeah, because jobs has this finished scope where it will return all the jobs that are finished. Um, and so if all the builds jobs are finished, then we can update the cache status. Okay, so let's run this now and see if it passes. It does. Let's run this and see if it passes. It does. Okay. Is this clear enough if build.jobs equals build.jobs.finished? I
Hmm.
guess.
Could confuse us later. But I think
Yeah,
it's
I'm
good
not
as for now.
super I'm not like 100% happy with it, but I'm not sure what would be better.
Yeah.
Um okay. Well, that sets the cache status. I'm going to do a separate branch. For some reason, that's taking a long time to push. But when that starts working, I'm going to set my timer for 4 minutes. There we go. Set my timer now for 4 minutes so I remember to check the result of the test suite. Okay. Okay. So assuming that passes, we will combine it with our filter. And just out of impatience, I'm going to actually just run the test suite locally. Curious how long the local test run takes now. I'm guessing about between 30 seconds and a minute. It always feels like longer than it is.
Huh.
Oh, we have a failure. So I'm glad I did it on a separate branch. Okay. And the failure is in a surprising place. All right, let's open this test up. We'll run this by itself. Okay. So this is on line 25. Okay, so when we navigate to the system logs tab, we're supposed to see this, but we don't. Now, does this test actually pass on main? Whoops. Because if it does, then we can believe that our change introduced the bug. But if it doesn't, then there's something else going on. Yeah, and it does not. That is interesting. Okay. So this test apparently passes on CI, but fails locally. It's usually the other way around. Okay. Well, let's do this. Let's put a binding.pry here. Show browser. Okay. So we navigate to this build. Then we do this HTTP request for new system log content. And yeah, it's not showing up. But then if I make the request, it does show up. I wonder if there might be a race condition here. Okay, navigate to build tab. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, supposedly we have this thing that prevents a race condition. But let's see. Okay. Oh, and there's my timer. 1 second. Okay, so this passed on CI. This, hang on, what the heck is going on? This is clearly a failure. Oh, interesting. So there's another bug. This said passed, but obviously it failed. I think it said passed because this job must have finished and changed this to passed, but the overall build failed. So we'll have to address that bug at some point. Anyway, turning back to what we were looking at just now. Um, so we came here and we're on the system logs tab. And what's it doing? It's saying expect, okay, job.send tab slug. Okay, so tab slug is system logs. Okay, job.system logs. System logs is nil. Why is it expecting it to have the content of job.send tab slug? I guess we're checking for the content of whatever the system logs are, but the system logs are nil. Hmm. Okay. So let me do this. If, okay. We'll do this. Value equals that. Expect it to have content. Value. Raise. Job dot tab slug is nil. if value dot nil. Okay, because we shouldn't be able to expect that it contains nil, because that just is not helpful. Yeah. Can't use. Okay, I'll run that again. Okay, can't use job.systemlogs to prevent race condition because job.systemlogs is nil. Okay, so we want to make system logs be not nil. Okay, let's see how it does with that. Okay, looks like it did better with that. Great. Okay, fix test. Okay, now that we've done that little side job, let's see what this is all about. Um, all right, so this is the cached build status branch. And this is job spec line 93. Okay, it passes locally, fails on CI. Interesting. So here we expect it to have changed from nil to passed, but it did not change. Okay. And I'm curious if this is a flake. So let's rerun this. Expected it to change from nil to passed, but it did not change. Okay. So let's go to the job model. Could be because something else in the transaction failed, but it seems like we'd see the error for that if that were the case. This is interesting. Let's see. Did not change. So why could that be? I mean, in theory, it could be because this conditional is returning false. Here's an idea. We can add some diagnostic info here. Okay, and then if I run this, okay. If we run this, we see not all jobs finished followed by all jobs finished, which is what we'd expect to see because the not all jobs finished comes from this, then the all jobs finished comes from this. So let's run the tests again with that diagnostic info. Okay, and this one is nearly done, or at least it should be. Okay, here we go. The test suite is starting to run. I feel like it's running fairly slowly, but I'll deal with that issue another day. Okay, so that passed. Soon we should see this turn to green. Um, okay, great. Well, we fixed that test and this passed. I don't know if that's terribly meaningful. There we go. Now it says passed. Okay. Add cache status for builds, add diagnostic info. Okay. So while we're waiting for this to finish, let's see if we can keep making progress somehow. The only thing I'm interested in is figuring out why this is happening. And again, it's only happening on CI, which makes it hard to diagnose. Or at least it seems like it's only happening on CI. I'm going to run this several times locally and see if we can ever get it to fail. So far, it's not looking like it. Okay. And it's going to be very interesting to see whether it passes or fails on this test suite. They're on that test run. Okay, expect job.finish to change job.build.reload.cache status. Yes. And we're expecting it to go from nil to passed, but it did not change. And what could the reasons for that be? It seems like it must be just because this conditional is not returning true. Hmm. Build.jobs.finish. Let's see exactly what that is. Job event types. Okay, yeah, we're joining it on the job events. Okay. That all looks unsurprising to me. All right, let's see what we got going on here. What's the test description? It is the last job. Okay, so this passed. So that is a flake. Fascinating. Hmm. Okay. So that diagnostic info is not going to tell us anything because it passed. But we'll leave that diagnostic info in there. So I don't feel like I have enough info yet to be able to diagnose this. So I'm going to actually let it flake some number of additional times, and then hopefully it'll be easier to fix. So now I'm going to merge in as build cached, this cached build status branch. Okay. And now, Sanjit, we can go back to our branch that we're on a minute ago, the build status filter branch. We can bring the main branch into here. Okay. And now, to make the filter faster, we can go by the cached build instead of the non-cached build. Okay. Build list. Okay, so we don't want to do this loop. Instead, we want to do this. I think we want to add a scope here. Maybe called cached status or with cache status. Where actually, let's not even worry about a scope yet. Let's do it just right here. Um, builds equals builds dot where cached status in statuses. Okay, first let's see if our tests still pass. But I don't know what the test is. I don't remember. Oh, yeah, it was a system spec. Was it this? Yeah, I believe it was this. Okay, that fails. Probably because these jobs aren't finished. Like the past job and the failed job, neither one is finished. Okay, let's see if that changes things. Still fails. Line 25. Okay. Well, let's see what this is all about. Well, this one's the only one that fails. Okay, so I see that both these two jobs say passed. Um, yeah, and I guess we're not doing anything to the failed job to say that it's failed. So let's address that. Okay, no problem. Um, okay, so we're not making the failed job say that it's failed. I think we can actually just do this. Instead of saying finish for both these jobs, or instead of just saying, okay, let's see. Job finished. Okay, so instead of saying finished, let's do cached status is passed and cached status is oh, but we need that not on the job, but on the build. Okay, let's do this. Past job that build dot update cached status passed, and then same thing for the failed one, except of course cache status is failed. Okay, let's try this one again. Okay, they still both say passed. Interesting. Oh, it's because that doesn't go off the cache status, it goes off the real status. And the test still fails, which is interesting. Okay, statuses. We only want passed. Then if we do this, we just get the one build. Okay. Confused though, why am I seeing nothing on the screen? In here, we still get just the one build. Okay, so we had just the one build in the build list, but we have both builds here. And that is surprising and confusing. Okay, and adding to the confusion is the fact that the status doesn't go off of the cache status, it goes off of the calculated status. Seems like the status should go off of the cache status. So let's actually change that. Stash these changes. So, and by the way, I don't know why this is taking so very long. It does happen sometimes for some reason. Let's do this. Status. Okay, build list item. Okay, so here's the status. Here's what I think maybe we want to do. I think we want to do return cached status if cache status dot present. Okay. That's not going to create some kind of infinite loop, is it? Um, yeah, no, I think we're good. All right, I'm going to run all the tests just because that seems like kind of a potentially high impact change. I just want to make sure that it didn't introduce any regressions. Okay, I do see a failure there, two failures. Okay, and these appear to be build status related failures, so that's not too surprising. Let's take a look at those. Okay, so when a build goes from running to passed, we expect the status to change from running to passed. Okay, but what actually happens? Passed was not found. Okay, show browser equals true. Let's see what happens. Oh, I know. The cache status is lowercase. I don't know if that's the problem, but I think it's at least a problem. Yeah. All right. How about let's not downcase the status? Run that again. Okay. Good. All right. So that's fixed, but we'll probably have to update a job spec. We don't want it to change to past lowercase. We want it to change to past uppercase. Okay. Okay. I feel good about committing this now. Okay. So now if I go back to this other branch and I do git stash pop and I open this test here. And if I run it the way I was running it before, oh, that does not include. Okay. Show browser equals true. Okay. I'm a little surprised that those are lowercase, but at least now we see which one has failed and which one has passed. And why are those lowercase? That's surprising. Yeah, we're not doing downcase here. I truly do not understand. Okay, so it's saying show me all the failed builds, but that's not what's happening. Build list. Okay. Um, so we want this status to be uppercase passed and uppercase failed. So let's try that. Still doesn't work. Oh, and I see why they're lowercase. It's because it's getting it from what I did right here. Let's see if that changes anything. Does not. Okay. Okay, let's put a binding.pry here. Okay, this is the initial load that's irrelevant. I don't know why it's calling it twice before the list even loads. Or maybe it's not. Okay, anyway, what is in the database? Build.all. Failed and passed. Okay. Builds. Builds has both of them. Oh, I'm not assigning this correctly. All right, well, that explains a lot. Okay, let's see what happens now. Now it passes. Oh, okay. It doesn't pass, but it did the right thing, or it appeared to do the right thing. No, it did the opposite of the right thing. Interesting. Okay. So we check. Oh, okay. My test is wrong. Should have said check passed. Okay. Um, so now we have just this past build committed by Governor Shauna Dickens. Okay, that's great. And now will the test finally pass? It does. Okay, both those tests pass. What if I run this whole file, which has no other tests? Okay, great. What did I do here? Get status filter kind of working. Okay. So now if I try it on here, it's probably not really going to work because the cached build is so, the cached build status is so new. Oh, okay. It says no builds passed, also none failed. Okay. Okay. So I think I'm gonna delete all my older builds. Okay, so I want to keep this one. Okay, so I want to keep this build. Build.where not id build.id. Okay, dot count 355. Let's try to destroy all. You know, I could have just updated the status on all those. Let's see what happens if I abort. Build.count. Okay, deleted a bunch of them, but I'm glad that I still have some. Okay, build.update all cached build status um past. No, cache status, right? Okay. Now, if I do past, it gives me all the past ones. Failed, it gives me nothing because I just set everything to past. Let's set this failed one to failed. Cached status failed. Okay, now let's see what happens when I do this. Okay, perfect. And we don't have a way to clear the filter, which is annoying, but obviously we'll add that. Okay, and this commit passed. Doesn't have a time on it, which is surprising. Huh, that is weird. Okay, anyway, let's fill in these other tests. So these tests will obviously be pretty similar. Oh, and we can have the same before for like all these, um, as in the visit. Okay. Um, expect it to have the failed build. Sorry, the failed build. But does not have the past build. Yes. Okay, that actually fails. I'm surprised by that. Okay, 42. All right. Expect it not to have the past build. Let's see what's going on. Okay, sure looks to me like it doesn't have the past build. Hmm. Okay, let's do that again. Hang on, I wanna see something. Okay, so these do in fact have different commit messages. Oh, I know. It's because it's shown here. I think we want to do like a within on the assertions. Okay. Let's do within build list. Well, let's apply it to this one first. Okay. Even though it's not technically necessary to do this, I'm doing this to show that in general, we're only interested in looking in the build list. Otherwise, you might see that one that has the within and wonder why just that one is the way it is. Okay, great. Wait, interesting. This one says passed, even though it has this failure. So that's a bug we'll want to fix. And also, this is maybe a clue because it's the same flaky test again. Although I don't see my diagnostic output here. So that's a little frustrating. Okay, now let's add the tests for these passed and failed builds. Um, I should be doing these slightly differently. So here, this should be before, and I should be doing this. Same deal here, because it's like the same with both scenarios. Okay, does all that still pass? So here we're going to check passed and failed. And we want to see everything. Okay, let's see if these pass. Okay, let's make sure the entire test file still passes. And it does. Add tests. Okay. And now let's fix this bug where the status is showing up as passed, even though a job failed. Um, okay, we can do that off of main because this doesn't have anything to do with the filter. Okay, so how does that happen? First of all, let's grab this job. Job.status failed. Yep. Job.build.status passed. Build.cache status passed. Okay. So why is this jobs build passed? And I feel like we should have two methods here. Whoops. Calculated status. And here we can do just do cache status or calculated status. So then we can do this. Job.calculated status. What did I just do? Build. Oh yeah, job.build.calculated status. Failed. Okay. That's valuable to be able to see the calculated status on its own. I'm gonna commit this. I'd be really surprised if we get any failures, but I want to commit this by itself. Okay, so we have a problem in that the build status, the cache status doesn't match the calculated status. And obviously the cache status gets set here, and this diagnostic output is not even working, so I'm going to get rid of it. Okay. Cache status is build.status, and we'll of course have to change this to calculated status. I guess we don't have to, but it kind of makes sense. Okay. Yeah, I actually can't imagine why this wouldn't be working. But maybe, yeah, I don't know. Okay. Change build.status to build.calculated status. And let's try something here. Let's grab this job again and do job.finish. Okay, that didn't work because it already has that event. Okay, job events dot find by type job finished dot destroy. Okay, now we can do job dot finish. Interesting that that's taking a long time. Okay, we can't do that because it has a charge already. Okay, job dot charge dot destroy. Now let's see if we can finish it. Again, it's surprising that it takes so long, but that seemed to be successful. Now job.build.reload.status passed again. That's interesting. that calculated status failed, even though um, the calculated status is clearly failed. So I'm going to do this for next time because I should wrap up now. Why is this not working? Yeah. I'll say when the status is failed. All right, so that'll be our task for next time. Just curious about this. Okay. Don't know what that is. But it does say failed. They can say failed. And this was job 1. Let's see. This was job 1 also. So I don't know what determines it, but maybe this one will give us a helpful clue. Anyway, I'm not going to go deeper into that today. We'll pick that up next time. Let me stop sharing my screen here. Okay. Thank you, dear viewer, for watching, and I will see you next time.